A single father lost the first-class seat he had paid for because a billionaire decided he did not look like he belonged there. 5 minutes later, every passenger was ordered off the plane. Daniel Mercer stood in the narrow aisle with his 10-year-old daughter clutching his coat while strangers watched in silence. Her science project trembled in her hands. The woman taking his seat never looked at his boarding pass. She only looked at his worn shoes and decided his place in the world. But this story is not simply about revenge or hidden power. It is about the moment dignity is tested, the cost of staying silent, and the unexpected woman who chooses to stand beside a grieving father when no one else will. Stay until the end. You may never look at power, love, or second chances the same way again. Like the video and comment where you are watching from. 45 minutes before the cabin erupted, Daniel Mercer and his daughter were standing beneath the pale blue light of Denver International Airport, watching snow move across the runway like dust over glass. The terminal had not fully awakened. Coffee machines hissed behind half-opened counters. Floor cleaners moved beneath the departure screens. A few business travelers sat by the windows, speaking quietly into phones as if the hour belonged only to them. Daniel stood beside gate B32 with one hand around a paper cup and the other resting on Lily's suitcase. His coat was charcoal gray, softened at the elbows and slightly shiny along the seams from years of wear. He owned better coats. Several waited in a cedar closet at home. But this was the one Olivia had given him during their first winter in Colorado, and he still reached for it whenever the world felt uncertain. Lily sat across from him with a cardboard case balanced carefully across her knees. Inside it was a model wind turbine made from balsa wood copper wire, a small generator and more patience than most adults possessed. One blade had been painted purple. The other 3 were white. Daniel looked at the purple blade and felt the familiar tightening beneath his ribs. Olivia had loved purple. She had worn a purple scarf on the afternoon they met in Boston. Daniel had been 27 late for an interview and carrying a coffee without a lid. He had turned too quickly, spilled half of it on the sidewalk, and nearly collided with her. Olivia had looked down at the coffee, then up at him. "You seem prepared," she had said. He had married her 2 years later. Now her photograph waited inside his phone and her name was printed across the invitation in Lily's backpack. The Olivia Mercer Memorial Scholarship Ceremony. Boston University had invited Daniel to speak. Lily had asked if they could attend the science showcase the next morning, where her wind turbine project had earned a place among 40 finalists from across the country. Daniel had arranged the earliest direct flight. He had purchased seats 1A and 1B so Lily could sleep, protect her project, and arrive with enough strength for a day that already carried too much. He checked the time, 5:38 in the morning. Their flight boarded in 22 minutes. Lily watched him over the top of the cardboard case. "You checked the time 3 times. 2. 3. Daniel took another drink of coffee. "That sounds like an accusation." "It is an observation. That is what people call accusations when they want to sound scientific." Lily smiled, but it faded when she looked toward the invitation sticking out of her backpack. "Do you think Mom would have liked my project?" Daniel sat beside her. "She would have asked you 12 questions before you finished explaining it. She would have understood it. Eventually." Lily raised an eyebrow. "Mom was smarter than you." "That is not a controversial opinion." The smile returned, small and genuine. Daniel looked at the purple blade again. "She would have loved it," he said. "Not because it works, because you kept rebuilding it every time it did not." Lily ran her thumb along the edge of the case. "It still makes that clicking sound. Everything important makes a strange sound before it works." "Is that something Mom said?" "No, I just made it up. It sounded like something she would say." Daniel looked toward the runway. There were moments when grief arrived as pain. Other times it arrived as resemblance. A certain lift of Lily's chin, the way she pressed her lips together while concentrating. Those moments hurt more because they came wrapped in love. Lily leaned closer. You still talk to her, don't you? Sometimes. What do you say? He watched a baggage cart pass beneath the windows. That I am trying to take care of me. That part is easy. Lily gave him a look that said she did not believe him. Taking care of Lily was the only part of his life that felt simple. Not easy, but simple in the way a compass was simple. She gave every difficult choice a direction. After Olivia died, he worked, came home, attended school meetings, helped with projects, and kept his wedding ring on a chain beneath his shirt. Friends had tried to introduce him to women. Daniel always found a reason to leave early. He had loved once without reservation. Losing Olivia had taught him what reservation was for. A boarding announcement sounded from the next gate. Lily adjusted the project case, and a man hurrying past struck the corner with his roller bag. The case slipped. Daniel moved, but someone else reached it first. A woman in a dark green coat caught the box before it hit the floor. She lowered herself to one knee and steadied it with both hands. That was close. Lily stared at her. You saved 3 months of my life. The woman smiled. I have been responsible for enough classroom disasters to recognize the sound of one approaching. She had warm brown eyes and dark hair gathered into a loose knot. A few strands had escaped near her cheek. Her face was open in a way Daniel had not expected at that hour. She set the case beside Lily. One corner had bent inward. Lily opened the lid. The turbine was intact, but the purple blade had come loose. Oh no. The woman looked inside. May I? Lily nodded. She reached into a canvas bag and removed a narrow roll of clear repair tape and a small pair of scissors. Daniel watched her. You carry repair tape through airports. I teach 5th grade. I carry repair tape everywhere. She lifted the loose blade and examined the connection. Your pitch angle is steep. Lily blinked. You know what blade pitch is? I know enough to be dangerous. She secured the blade, then rotated it gently. It may generate more power if you reduce the angle, but do not change anything the morning before judging unless you have time to test it. Lily looked impressed. That is exactly what my teacher said. Your teacher sounds brilliant. She also says not to wait until midnight before making changes. Your teacher sounds exhausted. Daniel laughed before he could stop himself. The woman looked up at him, and something quiet passed between them. It was the surprise of hearing a forgotten part of yourself make a sound. He cleared his throat. Thank you. Of course. She closed the case and handed it back to Lily. Lily studied the luggage tag hanging from the woman's bag. Maya Bennett. The woman looked down. You are either very observant or very comfortable reading strangers' luggage. Both. Daniel gave Lily a warning glance. And you are? Maya asked. Lily Mercer. This is my dad, Daniel. He checks the time when he is nervous. I check the time when we have a flight. You checked it 3 times. Maya looked at Daniel. That does sound serious. Daniel felt the corner of his mouth lift. She has been collecting evidence against me since kindergarten. Good scientists document patterns. Lily nodded with satisfaction. Maya glanced at the turbine case. Are you taking that somewhere important? The National Young Innovators Showcase. Maya's expression brightened. In Boston. Lily sat straighter. You know it. I am volunteering as a judge. Lily's eyes widened. Daniel saw the question forming. Ms. Bennett can probably give you advice on presentation structure, he said. Lily looked at him. You interrupted me. I redirected you. Maya laughed. I am assigned to environmental systems, but they keep the finalist groups separate until check-in. I promised not to ask your category. Lily covered the label on her box. You already saw the turbine. I will remove it from my memory. Can you do that? I teach 109 students. By Friday afternoon, I can barely remember my own phone number. Daniel watched her speak to Lily without using the exaggerated sweetness adults often reserved for children. She treated every question as if it deserved a real answer. Olivia had done that. The comparison arrived before he could stop it, and guilt followed. Maya was not Olivia. No one was. He looked away. Maya noticed the shift but did not ask about it. Instead, she checked the departure screen. North Star Flight 218. Lily nodded. We are on the same flight. Maya lifted her boarding pass. Then, I may need to protect that turbine again. The three of them moved toward the gate together without planning to. Maya matched Lily's pace, listening while she explained the generator inside the model. Daniel stayed half a step behind. At the gate, Maya glanced at Daniel's coat. Boston in February. Brave choice. We did not choose the weather. Nobody chooses Boston weather. It simply happens to people. Lily smiled. My mom went to school there. Maya looked at her gently. Does she still live in Boston? The question landed softly, but Daniel felt Lily become still. No, Lily said. She died 3 years ago. Maya did not rush to fill the silence. I am sorry. Tomorrow is a ceremony for her, Lily said. Then the science showcase. That is a lot for one trip. Daniel appreciated that she did not call Lily brave. Children who had lost someone were often praised for surviving things they had never chosen. Maya looked at him. She must have been important to the university. She designed public health programs, Daniel said. Most of her work was about making medical information easier for families to understand. That sounds important everywhere. It was important to her. Lily adjusted her backpack. Dad is giving a speech. Daniel looked at her. A short speech. He has rewritten it 14 times. 12. 14. Maya smiled. You may have a counting problem. An announcement called for passengers needing extra time to board. A young mother approached the lane with a sleeping toddler. Behind her, an older man moved carefully with a cane. Daniel stepped aside to give them room. Maya noticed. His phone vibrated. Julian Cross. Daniel turned slightly away before reading the message. Anonymous service review confirmed. No local management has been notified. Travel profile remains standard. Daniel locked the screen. North Star Airways had grown from 3 leased aircraft into one of the largest regional carriers in the country. Daniel had long insisted that a company could not understand its passengers through reports alone. So he traveled without executive escorts. No reserved lounges. No station managers waiting at the gate. Only Julian Legal Director Naomi Grant and 2 board members knew when he conducted anonymous service reviews. The black card in his wallet identified him as founder and chairman in an emergency, but he rarely showed it. Power changed rooms before a person entered them. Daniel wanted to know what the room looked like before it changed. Lily leaned toward him. Was that work? Yes. Is this one of your secret trips? Maya was speaking with the gate agent and could not hear them. Daniel nodded once. Lily looked pleased. You should wear a disguise. This is not a spy movie. You could wear a mustache. I already have a face. That is not the same thing. The gate agent announced first-class boarding. Daniel picked up the project case. I can carry it, Lily said. I know. You always say that. And you always let me carry it. Maya joined them near the entrance. Her boarding group was listed after theirs. Looks like this is where the rich and powerful leave me behind. Daniel glanced at his worn coat. I think the rich and powerful are hiding. That explains the shoes? She looked down and her expression changed. I am sorry. That sounded rude. Daniel surprised her by smiling. They are bad shoes. They look comfortable. They are not.
Then I have insulted them accurately. Lily looked between them with the concentration she normally reserved for machines. Daniel recognized the expression. Do not. I did not say anything. You were about to. I was thinking. That is what concerns me. Maya laughed again. It was not loud, but it stayed with Daniel as he and Lily entered the jet bridge. Inside the aircraft, Ben Ramirez greeted them. Good morning. Welcome aboard. He checked their boarding passes. 1A and 1B, straight ahead. Daniel thanked him. Lily slid into 1B while Daniel placed her turbine case in the closet reserved for delicate cabin items. He kept her backpack beneath the seat where she could reach it. Seat 1. A looked out over the left wing. Snow clung to the tarmac. Ground crews moved beneath yellow lights, their reflective jackets bright against the gray morning. Daniel sat by the window. For a few minutes the cabin felt peaceful. Lily opened her sketchbook and began drawing the wing. Maya boarded and found seat 2B directly behind them. She tapped the top of Lily's seat. Project secured. Safely. Father still checking the time. Constantly. Daniel looked back. Once. Maya held up 2 fingers. I saw twice. Lily whispered, She is good. Daniel turned toward the window, but not before Maya caught the smile he tried to hide. At the gate, another passenger arrived. Victoria Langford moved through the boarding area in an ivory suit, followed by an assistant carrying a polished leather case. Her heels struck the floor with crisp, impatient rhythm. She stopped at the desk. My seat request was not honored. The gate agent examined her pass. Ms. Langford, you are confirmed in 3C. That is still a first-class aisle seat. I requested the front row. The request was noted, but 1A was already assigned. Victoria looked toward the jet bridge. To whom? I cannot provide another passenger's information. Victoria's assistant lowered her voice. The Boston car is scheduled. Seat 3C will only delay us by a few minutes. Victoria turned to her. I did not build my life around a few minutes. The assistant said nothing. Victoria looked down at her boarding pass as if it were an insult printed on paper. Marissa Cole stepped out of the jet bridge to speak with the gate staff. Her uniform was immaculate. Her silver badge caught the overhead light. Victoria recognized the name. Ms. Cole Langford Capital is reviewing North Star for our national travel program. Marissa's professional smile sharpened. Yes, Ms. Langford. We are very pleased you are flying with us. I requested seat 1A several weeks ago. Marissa glanced at the boarding record. That seat is currently occupied. Then correct it. The gate agent looked uncomfortable. The passenger has a confirmed assignment. Victoria's voice remained calm. Companies reveal their priorities in small moments. Langford Capital spends several $1 million a year on executive travel. We remember which partners understand the difference between an ordinary request and an important relationship. Marissa looked through the open jet bridge door. From where she stood, she could see only part of row 1. A man in an old coat. A child in a knitted sweater. No assistant. No visible status. No reason in her mind that moving them should become difficult. Her hesitation lasted only a second. I am sure we can review the situation. Victoria handed her boarding pass to the gate agent and walked toward the aircraft. Inside, Daniel was helping Lily spell a word beneath her drawing. Maya sat behind them with a book open in her lap, though she had read the same sentence 3 times. She watched Daniel listen to his daughter with complete attention, not the distracted attention of a parent answering while checking a phone. The real kind. It made something inside her ache in a place she had ignored since ending her engagement. She lowered her eyes to the page. At the aircraft door, Victoria paused. She saw seat 1A.
Then she saw the man sitting in it. Her gaze moved over Daniel's faded coat, his plain shirt, and the pale edges of his shoes. Marissa followed 2 steps behind. Victoria entered the cabin and walked toward row 1. Victoria Langford stopped beside row 1 and let the silence gather around her. Daniel looked up from Lily's sketchbook. Victoria looked at the number above Daniel's seat, then at Marissa. "Why is this man sitting in my seat?" Marissa stepped forward with her tablet held against her waist. "May I see your boarding pass, sir?" Daniel reached into the inside pocket of his coat and handed it to her. Marissa read the assignment. Seat 1A. She looked at Victoria's pass, Seat 3C. "This appears to be a seating issue," Marissa said. Daniel watched her carefully. "There is no issue. My daughter and I are in the seats we purchased." Victoria did not look at his pass. "I requested the front row weeks ago." Daniel returned his hand to the armrest. "A request is not a reservation." Victoria's eyes narrowed. She was not accustomed to being contradicted in rooms where employees wore name badges. Marissa tapped the tablet. "There may have been a system error." Daniel looked toward the screen. "Then check the reservation history." "I am checking it now." She angled the tablet away from him. Behind Daniel, Maya closed her book. Lily pressed the eraser of her pencil into the paper until the tip bent. Victoria looked down at Daniel's coat. "People print false documents every day." Daniel met her eyes. "This boarding pass was scanned at the gate. It does not matter how you got here. It matters to me." Then Victoria turned to Marissa. "I have a meeting immediately after landing. I will not be trapped behind half the cabin because someone at the gate failed to understand a priority request." "Seat 3C is in the 3rd row," Daniel said. "You will lose less than a minute." Marissa cleared her throat. "Mr. Mercer, would you please step into the aisle while we resolve this?" "No." The word was quiet. Marissa blinked. Daniel continued. "My daughter is 10. I will not leave her alone while you discuss moving us from seats that belong to us. This is a temporary request. Then verify the tickets while I remain seated." Victoria noticed the attention around her and straightened. "This has already taken too long." Marissa's fingers moved across the tablet. Daniel saw the first change in her face. Not confusion, decision. She looked at him again. "Seat 1A is required for an operational accommodation." Daniel let the words settle. "What operational accommodation? I am not authorized to discuss another passenger's needs. You just discussed her meeting schedule in front of the cabin." Maya looked down to hide a brief smile. Marissa heard it in the silence. Her voice hardened. "We can move you to the main cabin." Lily's head came up. Daniel asked, "Where?" Marissa tapped the screen again. "There is a seat near the rear. And Lily. She may remain in 1B. Lily's fingers closed around Daniel's sleeve. "Dad?" Daniel looked at Marissa. "You are proposing to separate a 10-year-old child from her only parent because another passenger prefers my seat." Marissa lowered her voice. "Please do not make this more difficult than it needs to be." Maya unfastened her seatbelt. "I will move." Everyone looked at her. She stood and held out her boarding pass. "I am in 2B. Put Ms. Langford there. Let the father and daughter stay together." For the first time, Victoria looked directly at Maya. "I did not ask for your seat. It is closer to the front than 3C. I asked for 1A. Maya studied her. "This is not about getting off the plane first." Victoria's jaw tightened. Maya continued. "It is about making him stand up." Marissa stepped between them. "Ma'am, please return to your seat." Maya did not move. I offered a solution. She refused it. That means this is not an operational accommodation. Victoria gave a low laugh. Teachers should be careful about involving themselves in business matters they do not understand. Wealthy people should be careful about confusing business with ownership of other human beings. Daniel looked at her. Maya had nothing to gain by speaking. She did not know his name beyond what Lily had told her. She did not know what company he owned or what card rested inside his wallet. She saw a frightened child and a father being cornered. That was enough. Daniel felt something inside him shift, not toward romance, not yet, but toward trust. It had been a long time since he had trusted a stranger. Victoria turned back to Marissa. "Remove him." Lily looked from one adult to another. "Did we do something wrong?" Her voice was barely audible. Maya moved closer but stopped before entering Lily's space. "No," she said. "You did everything right." Lily looked at Daniel as if asking whether she was allowed to believe her. He nodded. Maya returned to her seat, but she did not fasten the belt. Her body remained angled toward them. Ben Ramirez stood near the galley with a tray of welcome drinks in his hands. He had watched Marissa compare the boarding passes. He had seen both assignments clearly. He took one step forward. "Marissa, the original seat chart showed Mr. Mercer in 1A. Marissa turned sharply. Ben returned to the galley. "I checked it before boarding. The cabin tablet updated. But his pass is valid." Marissa's eyes warned him. "Return to your position." Ben looked at Daniel, then at Lily. He stepped back. The shame on his face was immediate. Victoria saw it and smiled. Daniel saw it too. He did not blame the young man. Not yet. Fear inside a hierarchy was rarely simple. Marissa picked up the cabin phone and called the gate. "This is Lead Attendant Cole. I need the terminal manager at the aircraft. We have a passenger refusing a required reassignment." Daniel heard every word. "Tell him I have asked for the reason in writing." Marissa kept the phone against her ear. "You are delaying departure." "I am asking you to verify a ticket." Lily's cheeks turned red. She lowered her head over the sketchbook and erased the same line again and again until the paper tore. Daniel reached over and gently took the pencil from her hand. "Look at me." She did. "Breathe in." She inhaled. Slowly. She let the breath out. He placed the pencil beside the sketchbook. "No one in this cabin gets to decide what you should be ashamed of." Lily nodded, though tears filled her eyes. Maya looked toward the window because watching him comfort Lily felt almost private. Footsteps sounded in the jet bridge. Todd Brennan entered with his identification card clipped to his jacket and impatience already arranged across his face. "What is happening?" Marissa reached him before Daniel could speak. "Passenger in 1A is refusing an operational seat reassignment. He has challenged crew instructions and is holding up departure." Maya stood again. "That is not what happened." Todd held up one hand. "I will speak with the passenger. You should speak with the witness too. I said I will handle it." Maya looked at Daniel. He gave her a small nod. Not surrender. Gratitude. Todd approached row 1. "Mr. Mercer, the airline reserves the right to change seat assignments for operational reasons." "Then state the reason." Todd looked toward Marissa. "The crew requires the seat. The crew is giving it to a passenger assigned to 3C. Victoria folded her arms. Todd recognized her. "Ms. Langford," Todd said. "I apologize for the inconvenience." Then he looked back at Daniel. The decision was finished. "We can offer you a $200 travel credit and a seat in the main cabin. Beside my daughter. We are still boarding. We cannot guarantee adjacent seats." Daniel studied him. "Would you separate your child from you under these circumstances?" Todd's expression tightened. "This is not about my family. It became about mine when you asked me to leave her." Todd lowered his voice. "Sir, you need to cooperate. Cooperation does not mean pretending a false statement is true. I am not debating language with you. Then show me the record." Todd glanced at Marissa's tablet. Daniel followed his eyes. The screen was tilted just enough. He saw his name disappear from 1A. A blank field replaced it. Then a new status appeared beside his passenger profile. Voluntary reassignment. Seat pending. Daniel went still. Lily's name remained attached to 1B. He looked at Marissa. "Did you mark this change as voluntary?" Marissa pulled the tablet closer. "Internal coding is not your concern. It is when the code claims I agreed." Todd stepped between Daniel and the screen. "You are becoming disruptive." Daniel's voice remained even. "I'm sitting down and asking you not to falsify my travel record. If you continue refusing crew instructions, I will call airport security." Maya spoke from behind Daniel. "He has not raised his voice once." Todd turned. "Ma'am, sit down. He has shown his ticket. She has shown hers. You know who owns the seat. This matter does not involve you. It involved everyone the moment you threatened to separate a child from her father." Todd pointed toward her seat. "Sit down, or you may also be removed." Maya held his gaze. Daniel turned slightly. "Maya." She looked at him. He spoke quietly. "Lily needs one calm person in this cabin." Maya understood. She sat, but her hands remained clenched in her lap. Todd faced Daniel again. "Final instruction. Leave the seat or security will remove you." Daniel looked at Lily. Her face was pale now. He reached into his coat and removed his wallet. As he pulled out his paper boarding pass, the black card slid halfway free. The silver compass emblem caught the cabin light. Ben saw it from the galley, his eyes fixed on the symbol. Daniel returned the card to the wallet before anyone else noticed. He folded the boarding pass once. Then again, he placed it on the armrest beside Victoria. "What are you doing?" Lily whispered. "We are leaving the seat. But it is ours." "I know." He unfastened her belt and helped her put on her backpack. Victoria stepped aside just enough for them to pass. Her smile was thin and satisfied. "Next time, buy a ticket that matches your place in the world." A murmur moved through the cabin. Daniel stopped. For a moment, Maya thought he might answer. Instead, he looked at Victoria with an expression so calm that her smile weakened. Then he turned to Marissa. "Your name is Marissa Cole." Marissa touched her badge without meaning to. Daniel looked at Todd. "And you are Todd Brennan." Todd frowned. "Keep moving." Daniel glanced once more at the tablet. "You did not change a chair. You changed a passenger record without consent." Todd gestured toward the door. "That is enough." Daniel took Lily's hand. As they passed Maya, she stood again. "I am coming with you." Daniel shook his head. "No. I can give a statement. You can do that from your seat. I do not want her thinking everyone stayed silent." Lily looked at Maya. "Stay," Daniel said softly. "Please." Maya looked at Lily. "I will be right here when you come back." Daniel and Lily walked toward the aircraft door. Passengers made room without meeting their eyes. Ben stood beside the galley, still holding the untouched tray. Daniel paused near him. Ben looked as if he wanted to speak. Daniel gave him no instruction, only a brief nod. Then he stepped into the jet bridge. Todd followed and told the gate employee to keep Daniel and Lily near the wall while they searched for 2 seats in the main cabin. Lily held both straps of her backpack. Through the doorway, she could see Victoria lowering herself into 1A. Victoria rested one hand over Daniel's folded boarding pass without reading it. The gate employee tapped through the seating map. "We only have single seats," she said quietly. "Find 2," Todd replied. "They are not together." "Then move someone." "We are already at capacity." Todd looked at Daniel. "Your daughter can remain in first class while you sit in the rear." Daniel's eyes sharpened. "No. You refused the reassignment. I refused separation. Your system now says I volunteered for it. The gate employee stopped tapping. Todd noticed. Keep working. Daniel stepped closer to the device, careful not to touch it. His original seat was gone. His profile showed no assigned location. Lily remained in 1B. The change carried Marissa's employee identification and Todd's authorization. Daniel looked at the gate employee. Was that processed as voluntary? She hesitated. Todd moved between them. Internal codes are not available for passenger review. Daniel ignored him. Please do not alter the record again. Todd gave a short laugh. You do not have authority over airline personnel. Daniel looked through the open aircraft door. Inside, Maya had turned in her seat. Their eyes met across the distance. She looked angry, but not at him. Lily followed his gaze. Why didn't you tell them who you are? Her question was soft enough that only Daniel heard it. He crouched in front of her. Because if they respect us only after they learn I have power, then they never respected us. Lily swallowed, but they made everyone think we were lying. Daniel rested one hand on her shoulder. The truth does not become smaller because a room refuses to see it. Tears stood in her eyes. Are we going to miss Mom's ceremony? Daniel looked at the departure screen above the gate. I do not know. It was the honest answer, and it hurt her. He continued, but whatever happens, we stay together. Lily stepped forward and wrapped her arms around his neck. Daniel held her. Inside the cabin, Ben set down the tray. He opened the secure service application on his company, issued device, and pulled up the meal chart he had saved before boarding. The original map was still there. Daniel Mercer, 1A. Lily Mercer, 1B. Victoria Langford, 3. C. Ben looked toward Marissa. She was speaking to Victoria in a low voice, reassuring her that departure would continue. He looked toward Maya. She was watching him now. She had seen him try to speak. She had also seen him retreat. Ben thought of the compass emblem on Daniel's black card. During training, he had seen that symbol once in an executive security manual. Founder Council Identification. He searched the internal reporting menu. Passenger service, safety concern, record integrity. His thumb hovered over the final option. Marissa had recommended him for promotion. Todd controlled the local performance reports. One complaint from either of them could end his career before it began. From the jet bridge came the faint sound of Lily crying against her father's shoulder. Ben selected record integrity. He attached the original seat map. Then he typed one sentence. Confirmed passenger removed from 1A. Record changed to voluntary without consent. Minor left assigned separately from parent. He pressed submit. The screen displayed a confirmation number. Across the airport inside the Regional Operations Center, Julian Cross stared at the red alert on his terminal. Record integrity. He clicked it open. The report contained 3 passenger names, 1 seat map, and a sentence written with the blunt precision of someone afraid that too many words would weaken the truth. Confirmed passenger removed from 1A. Record changed to voluntary without consent. Minor left assigned separately from parent. Julian read the first name again. Daniel Mercer. For 1 second, he assumed it was another passenger with the same name. Then he opened the reservation profile. The screen displayed a standard travel record. No executive assistance, no priority escort, no notification to local management. That was exactly how Daniel traveled during anonymous inspections. Julian stood so quickly that his chair rolled backward and struck the desk behind him. A supervisor looked up. What happened? Freeze Flight 218. The supervisor stared at him. It is boarding now. I know. Do we have a security threat? We may have a passenger record that no longer matches the cabin. Julian reached for his jacket. Lock every version of the manifest. Do not allow anyone at the gate or on board to make another change. The supervisor moved toward his keyboard. Julian stopped at the door. And call Naomi Grant, the legal director. Tell her to meet me at gate B32 with passenger compliance. He did not wait for another question. By the time he entered the main terminal, he was moving fast enough that people stepped out of his path. 2 operations supervisors followed him, one carrying a secure tablet and the other speaking into a radio. Julian knew Daniel well enough to understand one thing immediately. If Daniel had sent the alert himself, he would have called. The fact that someone else had reported it meant he had chosen not to reveal who he was. That made the situation worse. At gate B3, Todd Brennan was still standing between Daniel and the gate employee's screen. You need to let my staff work, Todd said. Daniel remained beside the wall with Lily pressed against him. I asked her not to alter the record again. You do not give instructions here. The gate employee looked down at her device, wishing the floor would open beneath her. Maya had left her seat inside the cabin and moved closer to the aircraft door. Marissa blocked the entrance. Ma'am, you need to return to your seat. I need to know whether Lily is all right. The passenger issue is being handled. Separating a child from her father is not handling it. Marissa lowered her voice. You are interfering with crew duties. Maya looked past her into the jet bridge. Daniel was kneeling beside Lily, speaking quietly. Maya could not hear him, but she could see the way he held the back of Lily's neck steady and protective. The sight tightened something in her chest. She had known them less than an hour. It did not feel like less than an hour. Inside the cabin, Victoria had accepted a glass of sparkling water and settled into seat 1A. Daniel's folded boarding pass remained beneath her hand. She checked her watch. How much longer? Marissa forced a professional smile. The gate team is finding alternate seats. They have had enough time. They are working as quickly as possible. Victoria turned toward the window. This is what happens when employees are afraid to make decisions. Marissa's expression flickered. She stepped away and checked her tablet. The screen froze. She tapped it again. A message appeared. Passenger record locked by regional operations. Marissa's face changed. Ben watched from the galley. The secure application on his device showed that his report had been received. The status had changed from submitted to active review. He looked through the doorway. Footsteps were coming fast from the terminal. Julian entered the jet bridge first. He saw Todd. He saw the gate employee. Then he saw Daniel in the worn charcoal coat, one arm around Lily. Julian slowed so suddenly that the 2 supervisors behind him nearly collided. His eyes moved from Daniel to Lily, then to the open aircraft door. Mr. Mercer. Todd turned with open irritation. We are resolving a seating problem. Julian did not look at him. He walked directly to Daniel. Sir, why are you standing outside the aircraft? Daniel rose. Lily stayed close to his side. Lock the passenger record. Julian glanced at the supervisor carrying the tablet. It is already locked. Preserve every version. We have initiated the archive. Todd looked from Julian to Daniel. Do you know this passenger? Julian finally faced him. Yes. Todd waited. Julian's voice became quieter. He founded this airline. The gate employee froze. One of the supervisors straightened. Todd stared at Daniel as though the face in front of him had changed. Daniel's coat was still faded. His shoes were still worn at the edges. Nothing about him looked different. Only the information had changed. Todd opened his mouth. No words came. Lily looked up at her father. She did not appear proud. She looked tired. Julian turned back to Daniel. Why were you removed from your seat? Daniel gestured toward the gate device. That question is less important than what happened to the record. Todd found his voice. This was a misunderstanding.
The crew made an operational reassignment to avoid delaying the flight.
Daniel looked at him. What was the operational reason? Todd glanced toward the aircraft. The cabin crew determined that another passenger required the seat. Which passenger? Todd hesitated. Victoria Langford. Her assigned seat, 3C. Was there a medical requirement? No. A safety requirement? No. Was seat 1 a defective, while seat 3C remained usable? Todd's jaw tightened. No. Daniel looked at Julian. My confirmed assignment was removed. I was placed into an unassigned economy status. The record says I accepted voluntarily.
Julian turned toward Todd. Did he? Todd looked at Daniel. He stood and left the seat. After you threatened security, Daniel said. Todd's expression shifted. There was pressure to keep the flight on schedule. Daniel spoke without raising his voice. Pressure does not create consent. Inside the cabin, the interphone chimed. Marissa answered. First class. The voice on the other end belonged to the captain. Ground operations has suspended release. What happened with the passenger record? Marissa looked toward Victoria. It was a routine seat adjustment. The manifest is locked. I am aware. The regional office says the final cabin record cannot be verified. Marissa gripped the phone more tightly. The passengers are seated. We can perform a manual check. Not until compliance arrives. Victoria turned in her seat. What are they saying? Marissa covered the receiver. There is a temporary review. Victoria's voice sharpened. Then end it. Marissa lowered her hand. The captain has placed departure on hold. Victoria stood halfway. Over that man. Several passengers looked toward her. Marissa said nothing. In the jet bridge, Daniel asked the gate employee to show Julian the current record. Todd stepped in. Internal systems are confidential. Julian's eyes moved to him. Step away from the terminal. Todd did not move at first. Julian repeated the instruction. Step away. Todd obeyed. The gate employee turned the screen. The original assignment was visible in the archived history. Daniel Mercer 1A. Lily Mercer 1B. Below it, the new record showed Daniel without a seat and Lily still in first class. The reason code read Voluntary Passenger Request. Julian stared at the screen. Who entered this? The gate employee swallowed. Marissa Cole. And who approved it? She scrolled. Todd Brennan. Todd lifted both hands. I relied on the lead attendant's report. Daniel looked at Julian. Can the original versions be recovered? Every change is time-stamped. Can the aircraft depart while the system contains an unauthorized change? Julian did not answer immediately. He looked at the supervisors. One of them spoke carefully. We could conduct a full manual verification, but not while boarding continues. We would need to confirm the identity and location of every passenger, compare the gate scan list with the cabin, and document the correction. Daniel glanced through the aircraft door. Then suspend the flight. Todd stepped forward. That will create missed connections and significant cost. Daniel turned to him. How much does an unreliable passenger record cost if no one notices? Todd lowered his voice. This is one seat. It is one false entry. You do not yet know whether it is the only one. Julian removed his phone. I will contact Operations Control. Also contact Naomi Grant, Daniel said. She is on her way. Do not allow anyone to change the manifest until she arrives. Julian nodded and began issuing instructions. One supervisor returned toward the gate desk. The other changed the aircraft release status on the secure tablet. The display above the gate shifted from boarding to delayed. Inside the cabin, Marissa's tablet refreshed. A red banner appeared across the screen. Aircraft release suspended. Victoria saw it. What did you do? I did not do anything. You moved the passenger. At your request. Victoria's eyes narrowed. I requested the service appropriate to my position. You decided how to provide it.
Marissa stared at her. The distance between them appeared for the first time. Victoria had applied the pressure. Marissa had taken the risk. Ben remained near the galley. Maya stood beside him now. You reported it, she said quietly. Ben looked at her. I should have stopped it before they left the seat. You were afraid. That does not help the child. No, Maya said, but you can still tell the truth. Ben looked toward the jet bridge. Do you know who he is? I heard. You do not seem surprised. I am surprised. You do not look like it. Maya watched Daniel through the doorway. His title explains why executives came running. It does not change what happened before they arrived. Ben lowered his eyes. The cabin speakers clicked on. The captain's voice filled the aircraft. Ladies and gentlemen, ground operations has placed this flight under a mandatory passenger record review. Please remain seated while we receive further instructions. A murmur spread through the cabin. Passengers checked their phones. The businessman who had recorded the confrontation opened his video again. The elderly woman across the aisle leaned toward him. Was that man telling the truth? The businessman looked at the image of Daniel holding his boarding pass. Yes. Then why did no one help him? The man did not answer. Victoria pressed the call button repeatedly. Marissa approached. I need the regional manager here now. He is already at the gate. Then tell him I am Victoria Langford. He knows. Tell him Langford Capital is finalizing a national agreement with this airline. Marissa glanced toward the doorway. I believe that is also known. Victoria saw fear in her face. For the first time, she looked toward the jet bridge. Daniel stood with Julian and two senior supervisors. Todd remained several feet away, pale and silent. Lily was beside her father. Maya had left the cabin and was walking toward them with Lily's turbine case in her arms. She had retrieved it from the storage closet before the crew could close access. Marissa moved to stop her, then changed her mind. Maya entered the jet bridge. Lily saw the case. My project. Maya handed it to her. I thought you might need it. Daniel looked at her. You went back for it. It matters to her. The answer held no performance, no desire to impress him. Daniel took the case carefully. Thank you. Maya looked at Lily. Are you all right? Lily nodded, though the red around her eyes said otherwise. Maya knelt beside her. You do not have to say you are all right when you are not. Lily looked at Daniel. He gave her permission with a small nod. No, she said. I am not. Maya reached out, then stopped. Lily closed the distance herself and hugged her. Maya held her gently. Daniel watched them. Around him, executives were discussing locked records, operational delays, legal exposure, and aircraft release. Maya asked his daughter whether she was hurt. That difference entered him quietly. Naomi Grant arrived with two members of the passenger compliance team and a portable secure terminal. Her dark coat was still open from the cold, and she carried no visible panic. She approached Daniel. Julian told me there was an unauthorized manifest change. Daniel nodded toward the terminal. Preserve the current state before anyone attempts a correction. Naomi set the device on a narrow operations stand. Already done. The archive captured the original record, the modification, the approval, and the system lock. She looked toward Todd. Who had access? Todd answered too quickly. The lead attendant entered a routine adjustment. I approved it based on her operational assessment. Naomi turned to Daniel. Did you request a change? No. Did you accept one? No. Did you sign or electronically confirm anything? No. Naomi looked at Lily. Was she supposed to remain in 1B? That was their proposal. Maya stood beside Lily. After they told him to sit near the back. Naomi looked at her. You witnessed the exchange. All of it. Please remain available for a statement. Maya nodded. Todd moved closer to Julian. We can resolve this without removing everyone. Correct the seat assignments, reseat the passengers, and release the aircraft. Naomi opened the current manifest. Not yet. Why not? Because the record states that a passenger accepted a change he says he refused. We need to determine whether the system reflects the people in the cabin. Todd gestured toward the aircraft. They are all sitting where the tablet shows. Naomi looked at him. Are you certain? Todd hesitated. Naomi continued. Did you verify every seat after the alteration? No. Did you compare physical boarding passes with the modified manifest? No. Did you confirm whether any other seat was changed to accommodate this one? Todd looked toward Marissa. No. Naomi closed the screen. Then you are not certain. Julian received a call from Operations Control. He listened, then looked at Daniel. The captain is requesting a decision. The aircraft cannot hold the gate indefinitely. Daniel glanced at the passengers visible through the doorway. Some were standing despite the instruction to remain seated. Others were calling family members or checking connections. He looked at Lily. Her hand was still wrapped around Maya's. Daniel turned to Naomi. Can you conduct a reliable verification while passengers remain in the cabin? Naomi considered it. Not efficiently. We need to compare each passenger against the gate scan, the original manifest, and the altered version. The cabin is already emotionally charged. If we discover another discrepancy, we will have to move people anyway. Daniel nodded. Then empty the aircraft. Todd stared at him. Everyone. This will turn a service complaint into a public incident. Daniel looked at him. You turned it into a public incident when you threatened a father in front of a full cabin and called coercion voluntary. Todd's face tightened. People have meetings. Families have connections. Some may miss international departures. Daniel's expression did not change. They will be compensated and rebooked. Do you understand the cost? Julian looked at Todd in disbelief. Daniel answered before Julian could speak. Yes. Todd stepped closer. Then why are you doing this? Daniel looked through the open aircraft door at seat 1A. Victoria was visible near the front arguing with Marissa. I am not doing it because she took my seat. He turned back to Todd. I am doing it because your record says something happened that did not happen, until we know why that aircraft does not leave. Julian lifted the radio. Operations Control begin full deplaning procedure for Flight 218. The captain received the instruction. A moment later, the cabin speakers activated. Ladies and gentlemen, this aircraft cannot continue boarding or prepare for departure until a mandatory ground review is completed. Please collect all personal belongings and exit the aircraft in an orderly manner. Gate staff will provide further information. The cabin erupted. Voices rose from every row. A man near the rear demanded to know whether there was a security threat. A woman with a connecting flight began crying. Several passengers lifted their phones. Victoria remained seated. Marissa approached her. Ms. Langford, you need to gather your belongings. No, the aircraft is being emptied. I heard the announcement. Then you understand. Victoria rested both hands on the armrests. I will remain here until someone explains why an entire plane is being disrupted because one passenger refused to cooperate. Marissa looked at Daniel's folded boarding pass beneath Victoria's hand. Please stand. Victoria stared at her. Do you know who I am? Marissa's face tightened. Yes. Then act like it. Marissa looked through the doorway at Daniel, Julian, Naomi, and the compliance team. Her voice lowered. Everyone has to leave. Victoria did not move. The The captain stepped out of the cockpit. "Ms. Langford, this is a direct crew instruction." Victoria looked from him to Marissa. "You allowed me to take this seat." The captain's eyes moved to the folded boarding pass. "I did not authorize that decision." Victoria stood. Her assistant gathered the leather case and followed her into the aisle. Passengers began filing forward. The businessman who had recorded the confrontation exited first among the surrounding rows. When he saw Daniel, he slowed. His eyes dropped. The elderly woman came behind him. She looked at Lily, then at Maya, then at Daniel. No one spoke. The young couple who had laughed at Daniel's coat emerged next. Their expressions had changed. Inside the cabin, Victoria waited until the aisle cleared enough for her to walk without standing behind other passengers. When that became impossible, she stepped into the line with everyone else. Her white suit no longer separated her from the crowd. She entered the jet bridge with her assistant close behind. At first, she looked only at Julian. Then she saw Naomi's compliance terminal. She saw Todd standing away from the gate staff. She saw Maya beside Lily. Finally, she looked at Daniel. Julian turned toward him. "Chairman Mercer, the aircraft is clear enough for verification to begin." The title moved through the jet bridge like a sudden change in air pressure. Passengers stopped speaking. Victoria stopped walking. Her eyes moved over Daniel's coat and worn shoes, again searching for the man she had dismissed. Daniel looked exactly the same. That seemed to disturb her more than anything. Todd stepped toward him before the last passengers had cleared the doorway. "Mr. Mercer, I want to apologize. This was a serious misunderstanding." Daniel said nothing. Todd lowered his voice. "I was trying to protect the departure. I did not intend to disrespect you or your daughter." Daniel waited. Todd glanced at the executives around them. Panic entered his voice. "If I had known you were the chairman, I would have handled this completely differently." Daniel looked at him for a long moment. Lily stood on one side of him. Maya stood on the other. When Daniel spoke, his voice was quiet, but the jet bridge had become silent enough for everyone to hear. "That is the problem, Todd." Todd's mouth opened. Daniel continued. "My ticket was valid before you knew my title. My daughter was 10 years old before you knew my title. The truth did not become more important when Julian recognized me." Todd looked down. Daniel turned toward Naomi's terminal. "Show me the original record." Naomi opened the archive. The screen filled with the first preserved version of the manifest. Behind them, the last passenger stepped off the aircraft and the cabin door remained open. Naomi enlarged the original passenger record until every name and seat number was visible. Daniel Mercer 1A, Lily Mercer 1, B, Maya Bennett 2, B, Victoria Langford 3, C. The timestamp showed that the assignments had been confirmed before boarding began. Naomi opened the reservation history. "There was no duplicate booking," she said. "No equipment change, no broken seat, no medical accommodation." Victoria stood several feet away with her assistant. Her expression had recovered enough to resemble anger again. "I made a seat request." Naomi did not look at her. "The request appears here. It was received and declined because seat 1A had already been assigned." Victoria folded her arms. "Requests from major corporate clients are reviewed differently. Not after another passenger has boarded with a confirmed ticket." Naomi opened the next record. At 6:07, Marissa's employee account removed Daniel from 1A. At 6:08, Victoria was moved from 3C into the vacant seat. At 6:08, Daniel was placed into an unassigned main cabin status. At 6:09, Lily remained in 1B. Beside Daniel's name was the code that had transformed the entire dispute. Voluntary passenger request. Naomi turned toward Marissa. "When did Mr. Mercer request this change?" Marissa stood near the aircraft door with her hands clasped in front of her. "He agreed to leave the seat." Daniel looked at her. "I did not agree." Marissa swallowed.
You stood up and exited the cabin. After Todd threatened to call security, you could have continued discussing the options. Todd looked at her sharply. Even he understood how weak the explanation sounded. Naomi spoke with the same calm tone. A passenger complying with a removal order is not requesting a reassignment. Marissa's eyes moved toward Daniel. I was trying to prevent the situation from escalating. Maya stood beside Lily, one hand resting lightly on the turbine case. He never raised his voice. Marissa looked at her. He refused a crew instruction. He refused to surrender a seat that belonged to him. Naomi held up one hand. I will take your full statement separately. Maya nodded. Naomi returned to Marissa. Did you review both boarding passes? Yes. What seat was printed on Mr. Mercer's pass? Marissa hesitated. 1A. What seat was printed on Miss Langford's pass? 3C. Then at what point did you believe there had been a system error? Marissa looked toward Victoria. Victoria's face became still. Marissa answered carefully. Ms. Langford stated that she had requested the front seat several weeks ago. Naomi waited. Marissa continued. She said the airline was being considered for a major corporate travel agreement. Did she show you approval for the seat request? No. Did anyone in operations tell you seat 1A had to be reassigned? No. Did Mr. Mercer offer evidence that the seat was his? Yes. Naomi closed the record. Then the system did not fail. You made a choice. Marissa's professional composure cracked. I have worked for this airline for 17 years. Daniel looked at her. That means you knew the rules. I was under pressure. From whom? Marissa glanced at Victoria again. Victoria stepped forward. Do not place this on me. I did not touch the tablet. Marissa's eyes filled with disbelief. You told me the contract depended on how the airline treated important clients. I said companies remember good service. You told me to correct the seat. I expected you to use judgment. The two women stared at each other. The arrangement that had benefited both of them inside the cabin had disappeared. Now each needed the other to carry the blame. Naomi turned to Todd. Your account approved the change 43 seconds after it was entered. Todd adjusted his identification card. Marissa described the passenger as disruptive and said the reassignment was necessary. Did you examine his boarding pass? I saw it from a distance. Did you read the seat number? Todd looked down. No. Did you speak with Mr. Mercer before approving the change? I spoke with him after I reached the aircraft. Naomi tapped the timestamp. You approved the change before you spoke with him. Todd stared at the screen. The gate area had become so quiet that the hum of the ventilation system seemed loud. Naomi continued. Did you ask why a child was being left in first class while her father was moved to an unassigned seat? I was told they would be accommodated. Were adjacent seats available? The gate team was still searching. So you approved the separation before confirming a solution. Todd looked toward Daniel. I was protecting the departure. Daniel's voice remained controlled. A schedule can explain urgency. It cannot excuse dishonesty. Todd rubbed one hand over his mouth. We handle hundreds of seating issues every week. Decisions have to be made quickly. Quickly is not the same as blindly. Naomi opened the employee access log. Who else viewed the record before it was locked? A second name appeared. Benjamin Ramirez. Ben stood at the edge of the group. His shoulders tightened. Naomi looked at him. Mr. Ramirez, please step forward. Ben approached slowly. Marissa watched him with an expression that mixed warning and betrayal. Naomi turned the terminal toward him. Why did your account access the seat map at 5:52? The cabin tablet stopped responding during boarding. I opened the secure service chart on my assigned device so I could verify names and meal requests. Did you preserve a copy? Yes. Show me. Ben unlocked the device and opened the service application. His hands trembled enough that he entered the code incorrectly the first time. He tried again. The original seating chart appeared. Daniel in 1A, Lily in 1B, Victoria in 3C. The image carried a secure timestamp from before Victoria entered the aircraft. Naomi compared it with the archived manifest. They match. Ben nodded. He opened the report he had submitted. Naomi read the sentence aloud. Confirmed passenger removed from 1A. Record changed to voluntary without consent. Minor left assigned separately from parent. Marissa looked at him. You reported me. Ben did not meet her eyes. You knew the tablet was wrong. I knew what I saw. I recommended you for promotion. Ben finally looked at her. I know. And this is how you repay me? His voice shook. No. This is how I tell the truth. Marissa's face tightened. You have no idea what you have done to your career. Julian stepped closer. Mr. Ramirez is protected under the company's reporting policy. Todd gave a bitter laugh. The reporting policy comes through my office. Daniel looked at him. Not anymore. Todd fell silent. Naomi asked Ben to describe what he had witnessed before the seat change. Ben explained that Marissa had first acknowledged Daniel's boarding pass as valid. He had heard Victoria discuss the corporate agreement near the gate. He had seen Marissa return to the cabin with a different attitude. Did Ms. Langford directly instruct Marissa to alter the passenger record? Naomi asked. Not in those words. Victoria lifted her chin. There, you have your answer. Ben continued. She said employees who understood important clients were remembered when executive recommendations were made. Victoria looked at him. That was a harmless observation. It did not sound harmless to Marissa. Marissa closed her eyes. Naomi asked, What happened next? Marissa called the seat assignment a system error. Then she called it an operational accommodation. After Mr. Mercer refused, she changed the record. Did Mr. Mercer ever say he agreed? No. Did he behave aggressively? No. Did he threaten anyone? No. Did he prevent passengers from boarding? Ben looked toward Todd. No. Boarding continued around them. Todd's face lost more color. The businessman who had recorded the confrontation stood among the passengers near the gate lounge. He held his phone against his chest. After a moment, he stepped forward. I have a video. Naomi looked at him. Of the incident. Most of it. He glanced at Daniel. I started recording when the woman began arguing. Victoria looked at him sharply. You recorded me without permission. The man swallowed. It was in the cabin. Delete it. Naomi stepped between them. Do not alter or delete anything. The man handed her the phone. Naomi connected it to the secure terminal and played the recording. The image shook at first. Victoria stood over Daniel. Her voice came through clearly. Why is this man sitting in my seat? Then Daniel's voice. Because seat 1A is printed on my ticket. The passengers watched themselves watching. The video captured Marissa examining both boarding passes. It captured her claim that there had been a system error. It captured Maya offering her seat. It captured Victoria refusing. This is not about getting off the plane first, Maya said in the recording. It is about making him stand up. Several passengers turned toward Maya. She kept her eyes on Lily. The video continued. People who belong up front usually know how to dress for it. The young couple who had laughed lowered their heads. Then Lily's voice came through. Did we do something wrong? Daniel looked away from the screen. Maya reached for Lily's hand. This time Lily accepted it immediately. The final part of the video showed Todd threatening security. Daniel folded his boarding pass, helped Lily stand, and walked out without resistance. Victoria lowered herself into 1A. The recording ended.
No one spoke for several seconds. The businessman took back his phone.
I should have done something.
Daniel looked at him. You preserved what happened.
That is not the same as helping.
No. The man's face tightened. I kept recording because I thought the video might matter later. Daniel glanced at Lily. It mattered later. She needed someone to matter then. The man nodded, unable to answer. Victoria stepped toward Daniel.
This has become absurd.
Naomi turned to her. The passenger record was altered. A child was nearly separated from her parent. An employee reported pressure connected to a corporate contract. The incident was recorded. Which part do you consider absurd? The performance around it. Victoria gestured toward the executive's passengers and locked aircraft. One seat has caused a public spectacle because Mr. Mercer happens to own the airline. Daniel looked at her. The aircraft was emptied because the manifest could not be trusted. You could have corrected it quietly. That would hide the decision. You are allowing your emotions to interfere with business. Daniel's expression did not change. Victoria continued. Langford Capital is prepared to spend millions with North Star. Your board will not appreciate watching that agreement disappear over a disagreement witnessed by one upset child. Lily looked at her. Maya moved slightly in front of her. Daniel's voice became colder. My daughter makes the failure more painful. She does not make it more serious. Victoria folded her arms. You are willing to sacrifice revenue because an employee attempted to serve a valuable customer. A contract that requires employees to falsify records and humiliate passengers is not an opportunity. You do not know what the contract requires. I know what you expected before it was signed. Victoria gave a short, disbelieving laugh. You are making a personal decision. Daniel looked around at the gate. The record would still be false if the displaced passenger were a mechanic, a nurse, a teacher, or someone taking a first flight. His eyes rested briefly on Maya. She felt the weight of the word teacher, but there was no performance in it. He meant every person who might never have the title needed to make executives run through an airport. Naomi closed Victoria's passenger profile. Your premium travel privileges are suspended while we review your involvement. Victoria stared at her. You cannot do that. Naomi looked at Daniel. He nodded once. Julian addressed a security supervisor near the gate. Ms. Langford will not reboard Flight 218. Victoria looked toward Marissa. Tell them I never ordered you to change anything. Marissa stared at the floor. Marissa. No answer came. Victoria's assistant stepped closer. Ms. Langford, we should leave. Victoria did not move. Security approached. Every passenger who had watched her take Daniel's seat now watched her walk away from it. Her assistant followed with the leather case. The crowd parted, but no one looked impressed anymore. Naomi returned to the terminal. Before we complete the immediate review, I want to search prior complaints attached to this station. Todd looked at her. That is not relevant to the flight. It is relevant if this was not an isolated decision. The complaints have been resolved. Naomi entered his manager identification. A list appeared. Most files carried the same status, closed by local management. She opened the first. A mother reported being separated from her 6-year-old daughter so a television actor's assistant could sit nearby. No interviews were attached. No cabin statement. No response from the parent. Todd had marked it resolved. Naomi opened another. An elderly veteran claimed he had been pressured into a downgrade after a corporate traveler demanded more space. The file contained a voucher and no investigation. Another complaint described newlyweds moved from confirmed seats to accommodate a private investment group. Another came from a gate employee who objected to preferential treatment and was transferred 2 weeks later. Naomi looked at Todd. How many complaints did you close without interviewing the passengers? Todd looked at the files. They lacked evidence. You did not look for evidence. We receive emotional complaints every day. That does not make them false. I was trying to keep minor service issues from overwhelming the department. Naomi's voice remained calm. You did not reduce the problems. You removed them from the reports. Julian looked at Daniel. This explains why the regional dashboard stayed clean. Daniel stared at the list. For years, the company had praised stations with low complaint numbers. Managers received bonuses for quick closure rates and strong departure performance. He had approved those measurements. He had believed they rewarded efficiency. Now he saw what they had taught Todd to hide. Daniel asked, how many of these reached passenger compliance? Naomi searched the routing history. None. Why? Local managers can close service complaints unless they select a discrimination or safety category. Todd spoke quietly. These were seating complaints. Daniel looked at him. A mother separated from her child was filed as a seating complaint. Todd did not answer. Daniel turned back to the screen. The anger in him was different now. It was no longer directed only at Marissa or Todd. It reached upward, toward reports he had accepted, toward dashboards he had trusted, toward his own office. I approved this structure, he said. Julian looked at him. Daniel, you did not approve falsifying records. I approved a system that rewarded clean numbers and allowed local managers to decide which complaints deserved attention. Naomi closed the file. The responsibility for their actions remains theirs. Yes. Daniel looked at the waiting passengers. But responsibility does not stop where authority begins. Lily watched him. She had seen her father command rooms before. She had rarely seen him admit that he had failed inside one. Naomi asked Julian to secure copies of every complaint Todd had closed during the previous 3 years. Todd stepped forward. 3 years. Step back, Julian said. This is becoming a hunt. Naomi looked at him. It is an investigation. You have already decided what I am. No, the records are describing what you did. Todd turned to Daniel. I deserve a chance to explain. You will have one, Daniel said, but you will not control the files or the people who speak. Julian removed Todd's access card. Todd looked at it in his hand before surrendering it. A supervisor escorted him toward the operations office. Marissa remained near the aircraft door. Naomi approached her. You are suspended from flight duties pending a formal investigation. Your system access is revoked immediately. Marissa began to cry. I have a family. Daniel looked at Lily. So do the passengers whose children you were willing to separate. Marissa wiped her face. I made one mistake. Daniel looked toward the complaint files. We do not know that yet. She handed over her tablet and badge. A supervisor led her away. The gate area slowly began to breathe again. Passengers moved toward the lounge where airline staff were arranging food and new connections. Lily sat near the window with the turbine case across her knees. Maya worked carefully on the loosened purple blade. Daniel approached them after speaking with Naomi. Is it broken? Lily shook her head. Ms. Bennett says the connector is tired. Maya pressed the tape into place. Machines are allowed to be tired. Daniel sat across from them. Lily looked toward the snack counter. Can I get water? A female operations employee offered to take her. Daniel hesitated. Lily saw it. I will stay where you can see me. He nodded. When Lily walked away, Maya closed the project case. You did not tell me who you were. Daniel looked through the glass at the aircraft. Would it have changed what you said inside? No. That is why I am glad you did not know. Maya studied him. You looked at everyone like you were testing them. I was testing the airline. And what did you learn? Daniel watched Todd disappear behind the operations door. That I built something large enough to hide its failures from me. Maya did not rush to reassure him. Then do not waste this by turning it into one dramatic firing. Daniel looked at her. You are very direct. You let a stranger criticize your company before breakfast. I have made worse decisions. A small smile appeared on her face. Daniel touched the chain beneath his shirt without realizing it. Maya noticed the wedding ring resting against the fabric. Olivia. He nodded. 3 years. I am sorry. Boston was where we met.
Maya waited. Daniel looked toward Lily. After Olivia died, I became very good at managing everything. School forms, meals, meetings. I could keep every part moving. But I do not know if moving is the same as living. Maya's expression softened. Lily reached for you when that cabin turned against her. Daniel said nothing. She did not reach for a schedule, Maya continued. She reached for her father. Lily returned, carrying 2 bottles of water, and placed one in front of Daniel. You forgot to drink anything. Daniel looked at Maya. She smiled, but did not claim victory. Naomi called his name from the secure terminal. Daniel stood. Lily caught his hand. Are we still going to Boston? He looked at the departure board, then at her repaired turbine. Yes. This time, the answer carried certainty. He turned toward Naomi while Lily remained beside Maya, and the preserved complaint files continued opening across the screen. Naomi's screen. Each one carried a different name, a different date, and the same quiet pattern. A passenger had objected. A manager had reduced the incident to a service inconvenience. A voucher had been offered. The record had been closed. Daniel stood beside the terminal until the names began to feel less like data and more like people waiting outside a locked door. Naomi looked up at him. There are 47 files connected to this station. Reopen all of them. Some are more than 2 years old. Reopen them. Julian lowered his phone. We will need additional investigators. Bring them in from outside this region. No one who reported to Todd should control the review. Naomi nodded and entered the instruction. Daniel looked through the glass toward the aircraft. Cleaning lights still glowed inside the empty cabin. Seat 1A was visible beyond the doorway, untouched now, as if the chair had never caused anything. Lily stood near the windows with Maya. Her repaired turbine rested on a table between them. Maya was showing her how to reinforce the base with 2 strips of tape crossed beneath the platform. Daniel watched them for a moment. Lily looked calmer. That should have brought relief. Instead, he felt the weight of what her calm had cost. Julian approached him. Operations has found another aircraft. It can be prepared within the hour. Same route, direct to Boston. And the passengers. We can move most of them together. A few with urgent connections may prefer alternate flights. Give them the choice. Julian hesitated. The compensation package has not been approved. Daniel looked at him. Approve it. Finance will want limits. Then finance can call me. Julian nodded. Daniel turned toward the passengers gathered in the gate lounge. Some were speaking with agents. Others sat with phones pressed to their ears, explaining delays to people who could not see the scene around them. The anger that had filled the jet bridge had settled into exhaustion. Daniel removed his coat and draped it over the back of a chair. Without it, he looked less like the anonymous traveler they had dismissed and more like the man whose photograph appeared in annual reports. But his shirt was still plain. His shoes were still worn. Lily's purple marker stain remained on one cuff. He walked to the center of the lounge. Julian reached for the gate microphone. Daniel shook his head. He did not want the distance of a speaker. May I have your attention? Conversation slowed. A few passengers remained on their phones, but even they turned toward him. Daniel looked across the room. My name is Daniel Mercer. I am the chairman of North Star Airways. The statement moved through the lounge without surprise now. You were asked to leave the aircraft because an unauthorized change was made to the passenger record.
The system showed that I voluntarily surrendered my seat. I did not. It also left my daughter assigned separately from me without my consent. He paused. Once we discovered that the official record did not reflect what had actually happened, we could not responsibly release the aircraft until every passenger was verified. A man near the back raised his voice. "Could you not have fixed your seat and let us leave?" Daniel faced him. "We could have corrected my seat. That would not explain why the false entry was created, who approved it, or whether any other information had been changed." The man crossed his arms but did not interrupt again. Daniel continued. "I understand that some of you have missed meetings. Some may miss connections. Parents are trying to reach children. Families are waiting in other cities. The reason for the delay does not make the consequences less real." He looked toward the gate agents. "North Star will provide replacement travel meals, hotel support where needed, and direct assistance with every missed connection. You will also receive compensation for the disruption." A woman seated with 2 children spoke. "My mother is having surgery this afternoon." Daniel looked at Julian. "Name?" The woman gave it. Julian wrote it down. Daniel addressed her directly. "We will find the fastest route available, even if it is on another airline." Her expression softened, though worry remained. Daniel turned back to the room. "I am sorry." The words were simple. No public relations statement followed them. No explanation shifted responsibility toward a single employee. "This happened inside a company I lead. Discovering the truth does not erase the failure." Silence held for several seconds. Then the elderly woman who had watched from first class stood. She held her purse against her chest. "I saw what they were doing to you." Daniel waited. "I wanted to say something when they mentioned separating your daughter." Lily looked toward her. The woman lowered her eyes. "I was afraid they would remove me too." Daniel nodded. "I understand fear." I still should have spoken. Daniel did not rescue her from the admission. "Yes." The word was gentle, but it remained honest. She looked at Lily. "I am sorry." Lily held the woman's gaze. "Thank you." The businessman with the video stepped forward next. "I kept filming because I thought proof might help." "It did help," Daniel said. "But I used the camera so I would not have to become part of it." Daniel looked at the phone in his hand. "A camera can preserve the truth." The man nodded. "It cannot stand beside someone while the truth is happening." "No." The businessman placed the phone in his pocket. "I will remember that." The young couple who had laughed near row 2 approached together. The man spoke first. "We judged you by your clothes." His partner looked at Lily. "We thought you had taken a seat that was not yours." "You saw the boarding pass?" Maya said from behind them. The woman turned toward her. "We saw him holding something. We did not know what it said." Maya's voice stayed calm. "You decided what it said before reading it." The woman looked down. Daniel stepped closer. "The next person may not own the airline." No one moved. "They may not know a regional executive. They may not have a compliance director nearby. They may only have a receipt, a ticket, or their own word." His eyes moved across the lounge. "Do not wait for their title before deciding whether they deserve help." Lily watched him from beside Maya. Daniel did not sound angry. That made the room listen more carefully. Gate agents began calling passengers one by one to arrange new travel. The tension loosened as people were given specific choices. Naomi approached Daniel with the secure tablet. "I have completed the immediate suspension orders." Daniel glanced at the screen. Todd Brennan was suspended from all terminal duties. His system access had been disabled. He was prohibited from contacting employees connected to the investigation. Marissa Cole was suspended from flight duties and passenger service. Her access to cabin and reservation systems had been removed. Naomi continued. "Ben has been placed under witness protection procedures. He will remain on paid status during the review." Daniel looked toward Ben. The young flight attendant stood near the gate desk, uncertain where to place his hands. "Make sure the local office cannot alter his schedule or performance history." "I already froze both." "Good." Naomi lowered the tablet.
Victoria's legal team has called twice. About the flight, about the corporate agreement. Daniel looked toward the corridor where security had escorted her. What did you tell them? Negotiations are suspended. Keep them suspended until their board completes an independent review. Naomi studied him. They may withdraw entirely. Then they withdraw. Julian joined them. Several board members will ask whether that decision was emotional. Daniel looked at Lily. It is emotional. Julian raised an eyebrow. Daniel continued. My daughter was humiliated. I am angry. Pretending otherwise would be dishonest. He turned back to them. But the decision does not depend on my anger. A company that uses future business to pressure employees into violating procedure is not a partner we should trust. Naomi nodded. I will put that reasoning in the record. No, put the facts in the record. The reasoning can survive without decoration. Lily approached with Maya. Are we still going to the ceremony? Daniel looked at the time. They had already lost more than an hour. Yes. Will we be late? We may arrive close to the start. Lily held the turbine case more tightly. I do not want them to begin without us. Daniel crouched beside her. They know we are coming. What if Mom's professor thinks we forgot? He knew your mother. He knows forgetting her is impossible. Lily looked toward the windows. Do you think she would be mad that the plane was delayed? Daniel smiled faintly. At me. At everyone. Your mother rarely wasted time being angry when she could make someone explain themselves. Maya smiled. She sounds terrifying. She was. Lily looked at Maya. Dad liked that. Daniel stood. Lily. What? Maya pressed her lips together, trying not to laugh. An operations employee approached Julian. The replacement aircraft is ready for final inspection. Boarding can begin in 40 minutes. Julian looked at Daniel. I reserved 1A and 1B. Daniel glanced toward Maya. What seat is Ms. Bennett assigned? Maya looked at her new boarding pass. 4B. Lily answered before Daniel could speak. Can we sit near her? Maya looked at Daniel. You do not have to change anything. Daniel looked at Lily. We will see what is available. Lily narrowed her eyes. That is what adults say when they already know the answer. Daniel ignored the observation. Naomi called him back to the terminal. There is something else. She opened a file from the previous year. A gate employee named Carla Ruiz had reported that Todd instructed staff to prioritize passengers linked to potential corporate accounts. 2 weeks later, Carla was transferred to a smaller station with reduced hours. Where is she now? Daniel asked. Colorado Springs. Contact her. Tonight? Now, tell her the transfer is under review and that she may speak without involving her current manager. Naomi entered the instruction. Another file showed a family who had accepted a downgrade after being told their reservation could be canceled if they refused. The family had used savings to attend a funeral. Daniel read the complaint twice. The words were careful, almost apologetic. They had written as if asking the airline to believe them was another inconvenience they regretted causing. Find them, Daniel said. Naomi looked at him. The incident was 18 months ago. Find them. For compensation. For an apology first. He looked down the list. And reopen every complaint closed by Todd, not only the ones involving seats. Julian exhaled. This may become a national review. It should. Daniel, the press will see the numbers before they understand the cause. Daniel met his eyes. Then explain the cause. A sudden increase in reported misconduct will look like the company is failing. The misconduct was already there. The reporting was failing. Julian considered that. Daniel continued. I would rather explain honest numbers than defend clean ones built on silence. Lily sat beside Maya while Daniel worked. Maya watched him move between the compliance terminal, the passengers, and the gate staff.
He did not retreat into an office. He did not assign the painful conversations to someone else. But she also saw the way his shoulders tightened each time a new complaint appeared. He carried responsibility as if it were a debt that could be paid through endurance. Lily opened the turbine case. "Do you think the purple blade looks strange?" Maya examined it. "It looks different." "That is not the same answer." "No." Lily rotated the turbine. "The other finalists probably made everything match." "Probably. Should I paint the others purple?" "Do you want them purple?" Lily shook her head. "Mom liked purple." Maya looked at the single-colored blade. "Then leave it." "What if the judges think it is not professional?" Maya leaned closer. "A design does not become less serious because it carries a memory." Lily was quiet. Then she asked, "Do you have kids?" "No." "Do you want them?" Maya blinked. "You ask direct questions." "My dad says that too." Maya looked toward Daniel. "I wanted a family once. What happened?" "The person I planned it with wanted a life that looked good from the outside. He was less interested in whether it felt good inside." Lily considered this. "So you left him?" "Yes." "Were you sad?" "Very." "Are you still sad?" "Sometimes." Lily traced one finger along the purple blade. "Dad is sad even when he is happy." Maya looked at her. "That can happen." "He thinks I do not notice." "Parents believe many strange things." Lily leaned closer. "He likes you." Maya nearly dropped the tape. "You have known me for a few hours." "That is not what I said." Maya looked toward Daniel again. He was listening to an operations employee while rubbing the chain beneath his shirt. "Lily, your father has had a difficult morning. He smiled at you before the difficult part." Maya closed the project case. "You should prepare your presentation instead of investigating your father." "I can do both. I believe you." The first group of passengers began boarding alternate flights. Daniel personally spoke with the woman whose mother was having surgery. North Star had secured a seat for her on another carrier leaving in 20 minutes. An employee carried her luggage to the gate. She gripped Daniel's hand. "Thank you. I am sorry you needed the help because of us." She looked toward Lily. "Get your daughter to Boston." Daniel nodded. As the lounge emptied, the replacement crew arrived. The new captain met Daniel near the gate desk. "We have completed a manual verification of the aircraft and the passenger list. Every boarding pass will be matched at the door." "Thank you. I have also instructed the crew that no seat changes will be made without written documentation." Daniel looked at him. "Do that every flight, not only this one." The captain nodded. Julian approached with 3 boarding passes. "Seats 1A and 1B for you and Lily. Maya remains in 4B." Lily looked at Daniel. He ignored her expression. They moved toward the new gate. Near the entrance, a mother struggled with a suitcase while supporting a boy on crutches. The child appeared to be 8 or 9. A blue cast covered his leg from ankle to knee. He looked exhausted. The mother tried to fold the crutches while holding their boarding passes. One slipped and struck the floor. Daniel picked it up. "May I help?" The mother looked embarrassed. "We are fine." The boy leaned against her. She looked at the first-class line, then at the crowded main boarding area. "Our original flight was canceled last night. He had surgery in Denver. We are trying to get home." Daniel glanced at their passes. 2 seats near the rear, not together. The mother noticed him reading. "The agent said someone may switch." Daniel looked at Julian. Julian understood before Daniel spoke. Daniel handed the mother the passes for 1A and 1B. "Take these." She stared at them. "No, we cannot." "Your son needs room for his leg." "What about you?" "We have seats."
Julian began to speak. Daniel looked at him. Julian stopped. The mother held the passes as if they might disappear. "Who are you?" Daniel smiled. "Another passenger." The boy looked at Lily's turbine case. "Is that a robot?" "It is a wind turbine," Lily said. "Does it move?" "When the wind is strong enough." The boy looked toward the first-class cabin. "Thank you." Daniel rested one hand on his shoulder. "Get home safely." The mother led him into the priority lane. Lily watched them go. "After everything, you gave away the seats." Daniel looked at her. "I did. But they were ours." "Yes. You fought for them." Daniel crouched beside her. "I fought because the record was changed and because they believed they could treat us differently based on how we looked." He glanced toward the boy disappearing into the jet bridge. "I was not fighting for a larger chair." Lily looked at the boarding passes Julian still held. "Where are we sitting?" Julian examined the seat map. "There are 2 seats in row 9, but they are separated." Maya stepped forward. "There is an empty seat beside me. The passenger was rebooked." Lily smiled immediately. "I can sit with Ms. Bennett." Daniel shook his head. "You are sitting with me." Maya held out her boarding pass. "Then take 4B and 4C. I can use the aisle seat in row 9. Lily looked disappointed. Daniel noticed. He looked at Maya. "You offered your seat once today." "I am developing a habit." Daniel considered the map. Julian cleared his throat. "There are 3 seats together in row 12. They opened after a family changed flights." Lily looked at Daniel. "Row 12 is ordinary." "So are we." Julian handed them the new passes. Maya studied hers. "Looks like I am in 12C." Lily took the window. Daniel sat in the middle. Maya settled by the aisle. When the aircraft door closed, the cabin felt different. There were no executives waiting near the entrance. No one whispered Daniel's title. The replacement crew greeted every passenger with the same careful attention. Lily placed the turbine case beneath the seat. She rested her head against the window before takeoff. Maya fastened her belt. "Does flying in row 12 damage the chairman's reputation?" Daniel looked at the seat in front of him. "Completely ruined." "Tragic. I may never recover." Lily closed her eyes. "You are both strange." Daniel looked at Maya. "She says that when she approves." "I heard that," Lily murmured. The aircraft began moving away from the gate. Outside, the snow had stopped. Denver spread beneath a pale morning sky, runways crossing the white ground in dark lines. Lily reached for Daniel's hand during takeoff. He held it. Her other hand rested beside Maya's on the armrest. As the plane climbed, Lily's breathing slowed. Within 20 minutes, she was asleep against the window. Daniel removed his folded coat from the overhead bin and placed it over her. Maya watched him tuck the edge around Lily's shoulder. "You make it look easy." "What? Being what she needs." Daniel sat back. "It is not." "I know." He looked toward the sleeping child. "After Olivia died, everyone told me children are resilient." Maya waited. "I began to hate that word." "Why?" "Because adults use it to make themselves feel better about what children survive." Maya looked at Lily. "Resilience is not the absence of pain." "No." Daniel lowered his voice. "She stopped asking whether Olivia was coming back after 6 months. People said that meant she understood." "What did it mean?" "She understood that asking hurt me." Maya's expression softened. Daniel touched the chain beneath his shirt. "I became efficient. Breakfast at 7, school at 8, meetings, homework, dinner. I could manage every hour." "And the hours you could not manage?" "I worked." Maya looked through the window across the aisle.
My former fiancé worked whenever a conversation might require honesty. Daniel gave a small smile. Did it help? It helped him. Not you. No. The plane leveled above the clouds. Sunlight entered the cabin. Maya looked at Daniel. You do not have to explain your grief to me. I know. Then why are you... He considered the question. Because you asked about Lily before you asked about the airline. Maya held his gaze. I saw how she looked when they told her she might sit alone. Daniel's jaw tightened. I should have ended it sooner. By showing the card, maybe. Would that have protected Lily? Yes. It would have protected her from that moment. Daniel looked at her. Maya continued. It would not have shown you what they were willing to do to someone without the card. Daniel was quiet. I am not saying you made the right choice, she said. I am saying there was no painless one. He looked down at his hands. Olivia used to say that leadership was choosing which pain you were willing to answer for. Maya smiled faintly. I would have liked her. Daniel felt the familiar resistance rise inside him. Then it passed. I think she would have liked you. The sentence surprised both of them. Maya looked toward Lily, giving Daniel space to withdraw it. He did not. After a while, she asked, Do you still wear the ring? Daniel drew the chain from beneath his shirt. The wedding ring rested against his palm. Every day. Maya looked at it without discomfort. People have told me I should put it away. What do you think? I think taking it off would feel like making a statement I do not believe. Which statement? That loving her ended when she died. Maya nodded. Love does not need to disappear for life to continue. Daniel looked at her. She did not ask him to choose between memory and possibility. That was what made possibility feel less dangerous. Lily shifted in her sleep and leaned against Daniel's shoulder. Maya opened her book. Daniel looked at the page. You have been reading that same chapter since Denver. Maya turned the page. You have been watching. I observe patterns. That sounds like an accusation. It is scientific. Maya smiled and continued pretending to read. They landed in Boston shortly before noon. A North Star car waited near the terminal, but Daniel declined the executive entrance. Lily and Maya collected their luggage with the other passengers. The cold in Boston felt different from Denver. It carried moisture from the harbor and moved through clothing instead of around it. Lily stood on the sidewalk holding the turbine case. Maya checked her hotel information. My shuttle leaves from the next lane. Lily looked at her. You are coming to the ceremony. Maya blinked. Lily, you said you wanted to know about my mom. I said she sounded important. That means you should come. Daniel stepped in. You do not have to. Maya looked at him. Would it be inappropriate? No. Would you prefer that I not attend? Daniel could have given the safe answer. Instead, he said, I would like you there. Maya nodded. Then I will come. The ceremony was held in a brick building near the university courtyard. Photographs of Olivia lined one wall. In them, she stood beside doctors, teachers, community volunteers, and families holding translated health guides she had helped design. Lily moved slowly from picture to picture. At the front of the room, a large portrait showed Olivia wearing the purple scarf from the day Daniel met her. Maya stopped beside it. She was beautiful. Daniel looked at the photograph. She was late for everything. Maya smiled. That is not what I said. She would want accurate reporting. And guests began taking their seats. Professor Samuel Harris, Olivia's former mentor, embraced Lily and held Daniel's hand with both of his. We were worried. There was a problem with the flight. Samuel looked at Daniel's worn shoes. Knowing you, the problem now has a committee. Daniel almost smiled. The ceremony began. Several former students spoke about Olivia's work. A mother described receiving medical instructions in Spanish during her son's illness because of a program Olivia had created. Lily sat between Daniel and Maya. When Daniel's name was called, he walked to the podium. He unfolded the speech he had rewritten 14 times. Then he looked at Lily. He looked at Olivia's portrait. He folded the pages again. Olivia believed information was only useful when it reached the person who needed it. His voice was steady at first. She distrusted institutions that measured success from the inside. She said a hospital could celebrate a program while a family remained confused. A company could praise a policy while the people affected by it felt invisible. Daniel paused. The morning returned to him. Lily in seat 1, B. Marissa turning the tablet away. Todd calling coercion cooperation. I spent years believing I honored Olivia by building systems that were efficient, measurable, and large enough to serve millions of people. He looked at the portrait. Today, I was reminded that a system can look successful from the top while failing the person standing directly in front of it. Maya watched him. Daniel did not describe the incident. He did not turn the memorial into a defense of himself. He spoke about Olivia. She had no patience for admiration without action. This scholarship will support students who make public health information clear, accessible, and human. His eyes found Lily. Olivia believed dignity begins when we stop asking what a person can offer us and start asking what they need from us. Daniel stepped away from the podium. The room stood. After the ceremony, guests gathered around Lily. They told her stories about Olivia that Daniel had forgotten or never known. Maya remained near the portrait. Daniel joined her. For several moments, neither spoke. I still expect her to walk into rooms like this, he said. Maya looked at the doorway. What would she say? That the flowers cost too much. Maya laughed softly. Daniel's eyes remained on the photograph. I have been afraid that moving forward means leaving her behind. Maya did not answer immediately. Then she said, You brought her across the country in a purple turbine blade. Daniel looked toward Lily. She was showing Professor Harris how the generator worked. Maya continued, You are not leaving her behind. Daniel felt his throat tighten. Maya stood beside him without touching him. She let the silence remain his. After a while, Daniel reached for her hand. The movement was small. His fingers closed around hers carefully, as if he expected grief to object. It did not. Maya held his hand without pulling him away from the portrait. The next morning, the science showcase filled a large convention hall, with lights banners and the low mechanical sounds of student inventions. Lily stood behind her display wearing a navy dress and the purple scarf from Olivia's portrait. Daniel had found it in the suitcase that morning. Maya served in another judging section to avoid any conflict. Before the judges arrived, Lily adjusted the turbine. The purple blade clicked once. Daniel leaned closer. Is that bad? No. It sounds bad. Everything important makes a strange sound before it works. Daniel recognized his own invented wisdom. He remembered. I document patterns. The judges approached. Daniel stepped behind the viewing line. Lily began her presentation. She explained how blade angle affected energy production. She demonstrated the small generator powering a light. She answered questions without rushing. One judge pointed to the purple blade. Why is this one different? Lily looked at Daniel. Then she looked at the photograph attached to the corner of her display. My mother died 3 years ago. Purple was her favorite color. The judge nodded gently. Lily continued. At first, I thought every blade had to match for the machine to work, but they do not have to look the same. They have to carry the same load. Daniel lowered his eyes. Lily turned on the fan. The blades began to move. The purple one rotated with the others. The light came on. Later that afternoon, Lily received a special recognition award for practical design and communication. She ran toward Daniel holding the certificate. He lifted her from the floor. Maya joined them. "I did not judge her category," she said. Lily looked offended. "I did not need help." "I know." Daniel set Lily down. She looked between them. "We should eat dinner." Maya smiled. "That sounds like a command." "It is an invitation." Daniel looked at Maya. "Lily and I would like to invite you to dinner." Lily corrected him. "I already invited her." Daniel sighed. Maya considered the offer with exaggerated seriousness. "Is this a business dinner?" "No." "A science consultation?" "No." "A discussion between 3 passengers about airline seating?" Daniel smiled. "Just dinner." Maya looked at Lily. "I accept." They ate at a small restaurant near the harbor. Lily explained every detail of the judging process. Maya listened. Daniel watched them argue about whether creativity could be measured. For the first time since Olivia died, dinner with another woman did not feel like betrayal. It felt like dinner. That simplicity frightened him less than he expected. The investigation continued after they returned to Colorado. Marissa's employment was terminated after the evidence confirmed that she knowingly removed Daniel from a valid seat, entered false consent, and disregarded the protection of a child traveling with a parent. Todd was dismissed for approving the false entry, suppressing complaints, and retaliating against employees who challenged preferential treatment. Carla Ruiz was offered restoration of her position, lost wages, and a formal apology. She chose to remain in Colorado Springs but accepted a leadership role in the new independent compliance office. The families in the reopened complaints received personal contact compensation where appropriate and written findings that acknowledged what had happened. Ben Ramirez received formal protection and entered North Star's leadership training program. At the recognition meeting, Daniel handed him a certificate. Ben looked uncomfortable beneath the attention. "I was afraid," he admitted. Daniel nodded. "Courage often arrives afraid. I should have spoken sooner." "Then remember that feeling when someone below you is afraid to speak." Ben looked at the certificate. "Do you think I am ready to lead?" "No one is ready because they stop being afraid." Daniel shook his hand. "They are ready when fear stops making every decision." North Star changed its procedures across the country. Confirmed passengers could not be moved solely to satisfy wealth, fame, or commercial value. Any change involving a minor required clear guardian consent. Employees received the right to refuse instructions that violated procedure. Local managers could no longer close complaints involving their own decisions. Seat changes carried permanent timestamps, written reasons, and supervisor review. Discrimination complaints went directly to an independent office. Senior executives traveled anonymously several times each year. The company also changed the way success was measured. Stations were no longer rewarded merely for low complaint totals or quick closure. Reports now showed whether passengers had been contacted, whether evidence had been reviewed, and whether the same problem appeared again. During the first 3 months, reported incidents increased. Several board members panicked. Daniel did not. At the quarterly meeting, he placed the new numbers on the screen. "This does not prove we suddenly became worse," he said. "It may prove people finally believe reporting is worth the risk." The room became quiet. Daniel looked at the directors. "Do not ask me for cleaner numbers. Ask me whether the people behind them were heard." 6 months after the flight to Boston, Daniel sat in a small airport cafe in Colorado Springs. He wore the same charcoal coat. Maya sat across from him with 2 cups of coffee between them. They had been dating slowly, very slowly according to Lily. Maya had not moved into Daniel's house. Daniel had not removed Olivia's photographs. No one asked him to. Their relationship grew through ordinary things: school concerts, late dinners, phone calls after Lily went to sleep, Maya correcting Daniel when he tried to solve emotions like operational problems. Daniel repairing a broken shelf in Maya's classroom, while 28 students offered contradictory instructions. Lily joined them carrying 3 muffins. She placed one in front of Daniel. "You ordered blueberry." They were out. "This is banana. It contains fruit." "That is not the point." Maya looked at Daniel. "She has your patience. She has Olivia's ability to prosecute small crimes." Lily sat beside Maya. On the table, Daniel's black Founder Council card rested near his wallet. He had used it earlier during an inspection. Maya picked it up and examined the silver compass emblem. "Did you ever think about showing this that morning?" "For a second." "Why did you not?" Daniel watched Lily help a younger child at the next table reattach a wheel to a toy airplane. "Because I needed to know who they would be when they thought I was nobody." Maya placed the card on the table. "And now," Daniel looked at her, "now I know who you were." Maya reached across the table and took his hand. Lily glanced toward them. "Are you finally going to kiss her?" Daniel closed his eyes. Maya laughed. "Lily, what 6 months is a long time." Daniel looked at Maya. She was still laughing when he leaned across the table and kissed her. It was gentle and brief. When he sat back, Lily nodded with professional approval. "Good. We can leave now." Daniel stared at her. "You arranged this. I created favorable conditions." Maya stood and picked up her bag. "She may have a future in management." Daniel put on his coat. "Not at my airline." They walked toward the gate together. Lily moved ahead, carrying her new turbine case. Maya's hand rested inside Daniel's. He still wore Olivia's ring on the chain beneath his shirt. Love had not required him to erase one life in order to enter another. The airport moved around them in waves of noise and light. Families hurried toward departures. Employees called names over the speakers. Strangers passed without knowing who Daniel was. That no longer troubled him. Real authority had never been the ability to remove someone from a seat, silence an employee, or make an aircraft wait. It was the responsibility to stand beside people before knowing what they could offer in return. And for Daniel Mercer, real courage was no longer only changing the system so others would not stand alone. It was allowing himself to believe that he did not have to stand alone either.